Everybody experiences pressure. That's perfectly normal. It's something that happens when we approach a big or an important moment. And it's not the pressure so much that's the problem, it's how we manage ourselves around the pressure that separates out those who go on to succeed in those important events and those who are undermined by pressure. And I get people coming to me often saying, can you help me? I feel pressure, I feel nerves, I feel anxiety, and can you help me get rid of that? The reality is every single human being, every athlete, the best athletes I've ever worked with in my life, every one of them feels pressure, they feel nerves, they feel anxiety, they have doubts, they have insecurity, they have negative thoughts. They're no different to us. What the best in the world do better than most people is they manage themselves around those naturally occurring negative thoughts, negative emotions, negative experiences, so to speak. So it's not about getting rid of those things. It's not about not feeling pressure and not having fear. It's about feeling the pressure, feel the nerves, feel the anxiety, hear the voices of doubt or dissension inside your head, and still be able to go ahead and perform anyway. And that really is something that is available to every single one of us. You don't need to have superhuman mental capacities like some of the greatest athletes in the world are lucky to have. How do we then manage ourselves around those high pressure moments? For an athlete that's playing in a really big moment in a final, for a student it might be writing a really important exam, for an entrepreneur it might be delivering a really important pitch that potentially is going to change the life of the business. Whenever it is important or there's consequence on the result, almost always we'll either feel pressure to succeed or some amount of nerves, anxiety, or fear of failing. That's normal. But how do we manage that? First of all, it's to recognize that it's okay that I'm feeling this thing. Feel the fear and do it anyway. The best way to prepare for a pressure moment is to train for pressure. It's exposure to the pressure moment. Seek out experiences, seek out opportunities to practice performing under pressure. It's difficult to recreate that pressure moment. We tend to seek comfort as human beings. So how do we prepare to perform under pressure? First of all, it's to be okay with the experience of anxiety, of pressure, of raised heart rate, of nervousness, of some doubt, some insecurity, some thoughts of, can I do this? Is this too big? Am I good enough? That's perfectly normal. Everyone experiences those. Then the next thing is to lean into that. Go, it's okay, I need to focus on whatever the task is in front of me right now. And how can I bring my mind present and do whatever I need to do in order to move myself one step closer to victory and ensure I don't walk one step closer to unnecessary failure. Ask yourself, how do I, or where in my life can I find situations where I can actually practice performing under pressure? Maybe in cricket, for example, instead of bowling over 20 meters, it's maybe facing balls over 17 meters, or on a bowling machine that bowls a lot faster than what the bowler will. We all have a part in our brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is that part that really is the fight and flight sensor. It's the part in our brain that is constantly looking out for potential threat. And when we have a perceived threat in our environment, that amygdala is immediately triggered. It's like having a car alarm or a house alarm. As soon as there's a breach of that car or someone breaches your house property, the first thing that happens is that alarm triggers and go, hey, there seems to be a problem here. Very often, that problem is a false alarm. The brain works the same way. As soon as there's a really important moment coming up, or very important event that we're approaching, the brain triggers like, hey, there's something here, there's a survival threat, something really important. And that amygdala triggers pressure, fear, adrenaline to go into our body. And that's the kind of thing that, number one, it prepares us for performance. It narrows our eyes onto whatever the task is that's important. It cuts out the unnecessary thinking in our brain. Our hearing gets a lot better. Our eyesight gets clearer. Our heart rate raises. And we put on alert. And that really is to prepare us for that important moment. But the problem is when I'm here today and my event is in 3 days' time, I start thinking about it and I feel pressure. My body goes onto high alert to prepare me for action. And I have this experience of accelerated heart rate and nerves, anxiety, tension. But there is no immediate perceived threat. There's nothing I can do about the event in 3 days' time. And that's one of the reasons why pressure and high pressure can be quite debilitating. What are some practical action points we can take when we feel pressure? Number one, the feeling of pressure is okay. make it okay and normal, and know that it happens to the best in the world. Number two, what we need to do is get our body into a calm enough space, which means regulate your breathing, put a smile on your face, raise your eyes and look around, don't look down, and stand tall. So we prepare our body. The next thing we need to do is to understand that thing or that moment or experience that I'm feeling pressure around. Is it at some point in the future, or is it happening right now? If it's happening right now, I'm about to walk into the exam, I'm about to walk onto the field for that big moment, I'm about to walk into that important presentation, focus on the task at hand. Ask yourself the question, and a nice acronym is WIN. If you want to win, focus on WIN, which stands for what's important now. And that focuses our mind into the present moment and onto the task at hand. The third point, focus on what's important now. What can I do about this? If the thing that you are feeling pressure around is happening at some point in the future, the reason you're feeling that pressure is because I'm here now, my mind is dwelling at some point in the future, trying to deal with the future, which we cannot do. That's outside of our control. And that leaves us feeling really nervous, really anxious, and leaves us feeling out of control because we can't deal with the future. The problem there is that our mind is in the future and we're trying to deal with that. And the mind doesn't understand the difference between thought and reality. So what we want to do is bring our mind back into the present moment. And one of the ways to do that is to ask the question, if I want to succeed in future and avoid fail, what plan do I need to make in order to set up with the best chance of success and the best chance of not losing? And then bring that plan back into the present moment and ask ourselves, WIN, what's important now? What part of the plan can I focus on executing right now? And whenever our mind is focused in the present moment on the task at hand, we cannot feel pressure, nerves, or anxiety. So if we can keep bringing ourselves back into the present moment by focusing on our breathing, by focusing on smiling, by focusing on looking around and paying attention to what's in your environment right now, all of those things also help direct your focus back into the present moment. And the last piece is seek opportunities to practice delivering under pressure, not just in whatever your sport might be, but any situation that gets us feeling nervous about, I hope I succeed and I really hope I don't fail, lean into that situation and practice feeling more comfortable being under pressure. And what we're effectively doing by practicing that false alarm that goes off in our brain that I referred to earlier, what we do is we cause that alarm to go off at a later and later and later stage. And that's what the best in the world who are able to really face and perform under those high pressure moments. That amygdala doesn't trigger the fight or flight experience in their body too early and unnecessarily. They realize actually things are okay, and they practice pushing that pressure point or that trigger point where the amygdala starts saying, hey, Houston, we have a problem. By practicing, we just push it further and further out, which allows us to perform under those high pressure moments or those big moments without feeling pressure, nerves, fear, anxiety. Find the situation, lean into the discomfort, and see if you can be comfortable being uncomfortable.